Hi, this is a response video of sorts to Steven Crowder's video entitled Undercover, Transgenders Actively Targeting Children and Medicaid. Now, if you don't know who Steven Crowder is, he is a comedian who came up through Fox News.
When do you stop with the abstinence? How will you know it's time?
Well, once you have a ring on your finger, obviously. The only way to know for sure is once you're married. And of course, people know I'm a Christian. This column is not at all pushing faith in anybody. It's just talking about the actual benefits. If you really want to argue for abstinence, you can stop the argument and be abstinent, don't get sick and die. Yeah. But, you know, I can say from personal experience that it does build a bond of trust. Constantly you hear women, how often do you hear, well, don't you trust me? It's like, no, you slept with me on the first date. So of course I don't trust you.
It's that old thing.
I don't think the American people want it. I think they may think they want it. It's like a college student who can espouse his political views because he's never held a job, never had a dog in the fight. Well, I was raised in Canada, and most Canadians who are raised in that system don't like it. They don't.
Doesn't this really just highlight a point that I've tried to make as often as I can, that if you're from Great Britain or if you're from France or you're from Canada, there's a reason that all the people from these countries that have free medical care are flocking to the United States.
Right, absolutely. And it's not free when you take into account the tax burden. I mean, we show that in the video, the overall tax burden. It's ridiculous. Hold on a second. I have to correct it. This is character assassination.
We have
and it's wrong.
I saw that guy's back go down, and then he came up off his feet. Yeah, there he is. What is that, Steve?
He did go down. He was attacking a tent with women and children.
Oh, he was attacking the tent. And what were you doing?
We were there trying to prevent people from being hurt in the tent.
You deserved what you got.
You are a liar, sir. You are being swallowed. Your unions are being swallowed. These are babies flailing before being put to bed. They are violent.
He's young, and he may seem hip and trendy in some fashion to somebody, not to me, but to someone out there. This conservatism is really just bog-standard conservatism. Fear-mongering about groups that are different than him, being incredibly judgmental, marginalizing people who just want help in society. That's his whole deal. And a strange obsession with dressing up like a woman in order to own the libs, which he has done many, many times. Don't be fooled by Steven Crowder. He's the same old, tired conservative politics, just with a younger face and an attitude like it's something new. This video was very transphobic. I know that certain members of the audience will have instantly switched off their brains at the mention of any kind of phobia. If that's you, just replace it with anti-trans bigotry. This video is fear-mongering. It's the kind of thing that Steven Crowder engages in regularly. After watching this video, what was impressed upon me was his extreme dishonesty when dealing with people, and how he uses this dishonesty as a way of saying other people are involved in some sort of conspiracy. His journalistic tactic reminds me of James O'Keefe from Project Veritas.
James O'Keefe III and Hannah Giles got the right wing in this country very excited when they released supposedly incriminating undercover videos that they filmed at local Acorn offices across the country. They claimed the videos showed Mr. O'Keefe and Ms. Giles dressed as a pimp and a prostitute, receiving assistance and advice from Acorn about how to do stuff like smuggling underage girls into the country and securing funding for their illegal prostitution business. The tapes that were aired on Fox News in a seemingly constant loop were, quote, severely edited. In his words, the Attorney General released the unedited tapes that Mr. O'Keefe and Ms. Giles had shot at California Acorn offices. He said those unedited tapes show that, quote, things are not always as partisan zealots portray them through highly selective editing of reality. Sometimes a fuller truth is found on the cutting room floor. The fact that the Acorn employee collected all that information, including phone numbers and dates the supposed crime was planned for, and passed that information on to the police, that never made it into that Fox News report on this outrage at the San Diego Acorn office.
Basically what you do is you go to a place with a narrative or an agenda, push that narrative or agenda on the people there, but while you're doing it, act genuine, act like you're real, act like this is something you're actually concerned about, and then when the people fall for your bullcrap, say, ha, this is proof that they are corrupt, because I fooled them by lying to them. They basically preying on random people in the hopes that those people will just be genuine and honest about trying to help them. That the person won't consider, what is the legality of this advice, or what are the exact things I should be saying, or what is the policy or the policy of the government, that they will approach it on like, this is a human being who is behaving like they have a real issue and a real problem, so I will try to help them the best I can. They are banking on people having empathy for their lies. And then when those people have that empathy and try to help them, to say, ha, caught you, got you. And just like James O'Keefe then released footage of it, which is cut up into little snippets, intended to make it look like there's something nefarious about the people that you talk to, rather than just a genuine human desire to help you. I'm not going to cover the entire video. I will link to the original because I don't have enough followers to dogpile this guy. But the first few minutes are just him talking about transgenderism in a really like flippant way, like it's just a joke, it's just a sham, there's really no such thing as transgenderism, it's all a ploy by the left, blah blah blah. I'm already aware that Steven Crowder just doesn't really acknowledge the existence of transgender individuals and behaves like it's just a left-wing conspiracy. About a minute 45 in, we get the information about what he's up to.
But context is key, so let's provide it. Not Gay Jared and I attended the What the Healthcare Trans Town Hall in Burlington, Vermont to see what goes on behind the scenes, behind closed doors.
It says, join us for a panel and open discussion of the unique and important issues pertaining to trans and gender non-conforming individuals' health. So it's just an open forum and discussion about healthcare for trans individuals and about gender, which I assume the people attending would find useful because they have their own particular concerns as individuals, and that's why they would go to this. And they said they were undercover. Normally when you're undercover, it's because you have a purpose of some kind which requires you to be undercover. They didn't really need to be undercover to go to this. They could have gone and just listened to people's stories and asked questions and seen what they had to say, but instead they decide to make it like this sting undercover thing for no reason in particular except to fool and lie.
I'm not trans, we're gay. The joke is kind of just the basic B of the LGBTQ. Nailed it!
These kinds of undercover operations are founded on the idea that people in general are going to be as dishonest as someone like Steven Crowder or James O'Keefe, that there's going to be rampant fraud, that there's going to be rampant abuse, all these people wanting free things that don't really actually have any problems, going to events like this or going to Acorn. And just like with things like voting fraud, you just don't have the evidence to back up that there's that many people who have these nefarious intentions. People are just trying to get on with their lives. They're trying to deal with their problems. They're not running around going to healthcare events trying to figure out how to game the system because they're transgender. And that's a very strong component of the fear-mongering that somebody like Steven Crowder puts out.
We just recently rewrote our medical policy to call it transgender services, and we took out gender dysphoria out of there.
Okay, so ditching actual medical terminology, we're good with that.
Now this is probably the only part of the video where I thought, okay, there might be a valid point here. His footage is very chopped up, so it's hard to know exactly how doctored this is, but I think gender dysphoria is a very useful term. I don't know why someone would choose to take that out of a handbook or not use it in a medical sense anymore. If there's something offensive about it, I don't know what that would be. The main issue for me with gender dysphoria is people thinking that you have to have gender dysphoria in order to be a transgender person, and that's just not true, or that you have to transition or want to transition to be a transgender person. I think that's just not true, that's harmful, and they adjusted the DSM-5 to reflect that fact. But as for gender dysphoria being a harmful term, I think it's just a medical term that's useful that you can use. I don't know why they took it out.
Sorry, could someone clarify, because we're looking about moving here, I know insurance is a whole different ballgame. What is Medicaid?
A lot of people are on Medicaid. It
Okay.
had not been previously. It was sort of like, it used to be only for people that are below the poverty line, and that's not the case anymore. It's expanded, it's complicated, it's American.
But it is covered, transition surgery is covered under Medicaid here?
The Medicaids are administered at the state level.
Okay.
And at the state level, it is, all insurances are required to cover this particular surgery. So basically, they cover it, but there's no one who provides it.
Okay.
So it's legal bullshit.
They say no, and you have to not take that answer.
I've had people over the years win appeals to get surgeries covered in Massachusetts and Philadelphia.
I've also heard of people who have petitioned Vermont Medicaid with the assistance of Vermont Legal Aid, and it goes into a hearing, and I think a few people have been successful.
We're going to offer group therapy. I was just talking to Colleen about insurance codes. We'll be guiding local therapy activities with clients as how they see fit until they feel this is how I want to sound.
Do an appeal and plead your case. Do an appeal and plead your case.
Now, wait, okay, this whole meeting is about how to get taxpayers to pay for their surgery. And most of these people are completely unemployed. This is the equal rights fight? Free hormones, breasts, and vocal coaching? What's next? Demanding taxpayer-funded electrolysis?
He's trying to make it seem like there's something bad about transgender people wanting healthcare for their particular individual needs. Well, not even just needs, but things that you want, because it's very important to you, because it matters to you, because you have this identity or this certain relationship with your body that you want fixed, because it gives you so much anxiety, and you can live without it, but your standard of living is going to be diminished because you're going to be really fucking unhappy, and that's something that, like, Steven Crowder cannot understand, cannot relate to. That people talking about ways of having these issues addressed by insurance is somehow a bad thing. Fucking moocher. I hope you can't afford it. You know, you trying to get it, that's just gaming the system. You should just fucking suffer, because we should live in a miserable society. We feel like shit. Instead of being in that kind of society, like Steven Crowder wants, they should have universal coverage for people to get the treatment that they really feel that they need, or that they desire in order to improve their own state of being into something which more represents who they are, or who they believe they are. And conservatives hating so much the idea that the government might be able to help people achieve better happiness in life, and being so against people being able to be who they are, is just why I will never be a conservative, and why I just think it's a ridiculous point of view, selfish bullshit. And Steven Crowder is banking on his audience being as unfeeling and uncaring as he is for the human desire for betterment, because they see transgender people as lesser. They see them as much less deserving of happiness, much less deserving of help. And again, universal health coverage, an understanding, compassionate healthcare system is what would really fix this situation, but Steven Crowder doesn't want that. It's like, oh my god, these human beings have had surgery on taxpayer money to improve their standard of living. How fucking horrible. Government should never work to make people happier. It should never work to improve people's lives. People should just live shit lives and then go poor when they can't afford things like cancer treatment. That's the way it should be. No, healthcare is something that should be significantly more socialized in the US. And I think insurance companies literally stand between people and an improvement of their condition in life. And people trying to take advantage, not in a nefarious, evil, terrible way, but just because these are treatments that they really want for their own well-being, that's a symptom of a system which is patchwork and which does not provide options for people. They can't fucking afford this kind of shit. And you know what? Maybe they would be able to afford this kind of treatment if you had universal healthcare for everybody, and then you took transitioning and hormones and vocal therapy and all that kind of thing out of that public system and had competition in the private sector, so that transgender individuals would not be wasting so much money on general healthcare that they would be able to afford these things. But the thing that stands out about people like Steven Crowder is they have no fucking solutions whatsoever. Not ones that work, not ones that have been proven to work anywhere. All they want to do is shame people for trying to get help.
Does Blue Cross Blue Shield have a specific code for folks getting electrolysis? When you're faced with a forest on the face, even light doesn't shine all the way through a forest.
Pause. Yeah, that sound is me desperately trying not to laugh.
This part backs up what I'm saying. Electrolysis is removing hair. Steven Crowder is not really going to need that in any way. He doesn't have any kind of dysphoria of any kind. Again, that's the one point, that they removed dysphoria from their manuals, so I have to describe it as dysphoria. I don't know how else to describe it. If you can't relate to a treatment, then you're going to think it's bunk automatically. But for some people, this is a very serious thing, which affects their mental health. And the only response you have to that is just like not caring about other people's feels or whatever. That's where a terrible suicide rate comes in, because people feel fucking terrible and their lives can be dramatically improved by simple things like electrolysis. And this shows how fucking immature and worthless these guys are. We're gonna come to this meeting where we can talk about things that actually affect transgender people. She's talking about, you know, having hair on your face. I guess maybe as a woman, it's like having a forest on your face, and it's disgusting. It's not something you can't even like shine a light through the forest. And that's very distressing for this individual. It's something that impacts them personally. And Steven Crowder and his piece of garbage buddy Jared are laughing about it because they have not had to face that kind of thing. They don't know what that would feel like. So to them it's just funny, and they've invaded this meeting where people can actually talk about these things just to try to insult transgender people. Piece of shit person. Just a piece of shit.
But this all begs the question, if we're throwing out actual medical definitions, precedent, science, and then demanding that the taxpayers foot the bill for any and all preference-based medical procedures, how far does it go? Who gets to say it's okay? Would they be cool, for example, with paying for breast surgery for a non-trans woman? Here's my wife and her friend posing as lesbians asking just that.
I have always felt like with my body, like bigger breasts would really help me to identify more, and my partner just like to feel more comfortable in my body. And it's something I've really stressed. So I know that sounds like really weird, but I mean, we're all family here, right? So that's something I've like really struggled with. We don't have the financial means to do that, and so it almost feels like sexist that the doctors will, Medicare will cover this for the trans community, but for someone struggling like me, like what do I do? Do I tell them that I just want to get top surgery and I'm defining myself as trans? Like,
this is maybe unique, but you go the same route. You work with a therapist who's willing to make the case. Like, from my assessment, having worked with this client, this is medically necessary surgery.
This part very much conforms to what I was saying at the start of this video. How right-wingers do these undercover sting operations where they just lie to people and convince these people that this is actually a serious issue for them, and then take advantage of their human empathy and caring when they provide a real answer for them. She phrases it and frames it like it's a dysphoria issue, that it's really serious for her as a human being, that this is something that she really needs because it's important to her. Why wouldn't the doctor listen to that and say, this person has a real concern, so I'm going to try to answer it. That's what I'm fucking here for. I am here to provide answers to you and treat your concerns as valid. You don't need larger breasts. That's just completely superficial and peripheral. No, because his job at the town hall is to listen to people's concerns and try to provide them with answers. So the doctor takes your wife to be a real human being, and then when he does, then he's owned, and he's a liar. And he even says this is a very unusual example, like it's very strange. He has no experience with an example like this. He's like, well, it's very strange, but I guess I would recommend that you see like a trans counselor or something if it's some issue to do with dysphoria of some kind, although for some reason they're not allowed to use dysphoria. I still don't get that. So it's not like every 2 seconds somebody is coming in and telling him some bullshit story about breast implants to try and get free money. It's unusual to him. I guess you just cannot trust right-wingers. They're always trying to fucking get you over something. They go to your public event, say that they're going undercover and going behind closed doors, and then tell you a lie, and then put you on a video and say that they got you because you responded like a real person.
I felt like silly asking, but I appreciate you saying that. I know it's like a little bit unusual.
No, I think it's very brave. You're in a room full of strangers. You came to get some answers, and you asked a question. So, thank you.
I just listen to tips, you know? So I appreciate it.
Yeah. No, I definitely. That's fine. I think you could if you search around, and maybe it is a trans therapist that will, because they know how to finagle what they write in the way of a script, saying this is what's needed and here are the reasons why.
But I think again, if his wife's need for breast was a dysphoria issue or something to do with her body identity, that would be right in line with a condition impacting a trans person. So I don't see why it actually shouldn't be covered in that sense. The only reason it shouldn't be covered is because you, Steven Crowder, and your wife are liars, lying to people, and you assume that everyone in the world is as big a fucking liar as you are. I just don't think that's true.
But some people meet in secret to try and con the American taxpayer by any means possible. And it would be funny if it weren't for what comes next. Quick side note, did anyone else notice this?
It doesn't necessarily fall into the category of dysphoria in that traditional sense.
Come again, what happened to not using the term dysphoria? Oh wait, that's reserved for trans, not attractive actual women? Carry on.
And then when he says his wife is like an attractive actual woman, we see his real agenda, which is just saying trans people are gross and ugly, in his opinion. They're not like normal humans. They have a mental condition. They're mentally ill. There's something wrong with them. And I would say that this basically sums up the entirety of the message of the video. They're just lesser people. I think that's the way that he sees it.
Okay, now for the most concerning issue. How flippantly these people are willing to target and treat your children. We have adopted a boy. He's about 6 now. He has said that feels like a girl, prefers playing with dolls, and of course we don't want to discourage it. We spoke with our primary care physician. He said wait until the boy is fully developed.
To say wait till they develop is a little vague, and I would say a little inaccurate from the research I've done.
By 18, it's too late.
So he talks about kids transitioning. But the fascinating thing is that this group didn't really talk about transitioning. They talked about using hormones to prevent the onset of puberty, in order to give people more time to decide about whether they wanted to transition. So you could say that this group talked about committing to a certain gender and the implications of that and how people might go about that, but they did not say that children should transition. No one mentioned that. So Steven Crowder's just putting that upon these people and just saying like, oh, they said this, even though they didn't.
Now, this is seriously disconcerting because the ramifications of allowing children to go through transition can be about as severe and permanent as it gets. From brain abnormalities to height to potentially permanent fertility issues.
When he talks about brain abnormalities from transitioning, he shows this shot here. The effects of treatment with leprolide acetate depot on working memory and executive functions in young premenopausal women. Now, the thing he doesn't tell you is what this drug is used for. Leprolaline, also known as leprolide, is a manufactured version of a hormone used to treat prostate cancer, breast cancer, endometriosis, uterine fibroids, and early puberty. It is given by injection into a muscle under the skin. Also, the World Health Organization said it was the most effective and safe medicines needed in a health system. Independent of talking about this drug being used for stopping puberty, this is a useful drug which has other uses. So it's not like this is just a drug to give to children. It's a drug that has many uses. He doesn't mention that. Also, a deterioration in mood, health-related symptoms, and performance does not imply brain abnormalities.
From brain abnormalities?
Brain abnormality sounds very severe, whereas difficulties in concentration and having a worse mood, while not nice, many medicines have byproducts like those. And it seems that Steven Crowder is just doing a slippery slope and saying it's gonna be so much worse that you're gonna have brain abnormalities. I'm not sure where he gets that because it's not in this. And he talks about hormones affecting height. Female to male patients receive a growth spurt. That would make perfect sense because, you know, men and women tend to be different heights. So how is that like a shocking thing? It seems there is evidence that you will grow at a different rate, but how is that scary or unusual? I think the scary thing here is his implication that they're trying to get kids to transition flippantly, but again, there's no evidence that these people are saying anything like that. He shows this screenshot very quickly. Today's medical technology does not make it possible for a patient to actually grow the sex organs of the opposite sex. Moving forward, infertility is therefore one of the major side effects of the course of treatment that runs from puberty suppression through cross-sex hormones to surgical sex reassignment. I know he makes it sound scary, but it's very logical. Once you've had surgical sex reassignment from female to male, you're not really going to be able to give birth due to your new genitals. And if we go in the other direction, you're probably not going to be able to inseminate someone because of your new genitals. He makes it sound scary, but it's just logical. It's just, yeah, I mean, that's what's going to happen. The scary thing is the idea that they're just randomly going to do it to children, which is something he made up. He's putting this into the video just to try to scare his audience, and it's probably quite effective.
According to a recent review of 50 studies on puberty suppression, the evidence that something like normal puberty will resume for these patients after puberty-suppressing drugs are removed is very weak. This is because there are virtually no published reports, even case studies of adolescents withdrawing from puberty-suppressing drugs and then resuming the normal pubertal development typical for their sex.
This is actually my favorite part of the video, because it's like he doesn't care what this text says. Did he even read it? Well, he read it out, so I assume he read it, but did he understand what the actual words said? The blurb simply says, the evidence is weak because there's no published reports. That's all it says. It doesn't say that they will not resume puberty. It doesn't say it will irreparably damage your brain.
When in doubt, tread lightly and err on the side of irreparably damaging a child's endocrine system and developing brain in the name of progress. Now, this wouldn't be so disturbing if this also weren't policy of today's progressive wing in the Democratic Party, and it's exacerbated by the fact that they lie about the actual results.
It doesn't say anything like that. So if Steven Crowder was an honest person, he might say, do we really want to give these drugs to kids because we do not fully understand the effects of them? and we don't want to give stuff we don't understand to kids. That would be a different argument. That would be a different discussion. That's not what he says. He says,
irreparably damaging a child's endocrine system and developing brain.
It's irreversible, and my proof of it is this blurb that says they don't have enough evidence to be sure. That's just being disingenuous. It's just lying. I just think he's dishonest. I think he just wants to say it irreparably damages your brain. He doesn't care about evidence, or he doesn't care about showing something that proves him right.
And that's possibly the most important point in all of this. In today's LGBTQ AAIP political agenda-driven climate, these children often aren't the ones making these actual decisions.
My daughter just turned 39. Oh my gosh. I raised them totally non-gender specific.
Okay, but you raised her the whole time gender non-specific.
As much as I could. I mean, they played baseball,
and then she became,
they played basketball.
And then she came out as trans later.
Yeah, she didn't, there wasn't the language, she didn't know she was trans.
And you fostered that and whatever.
And I got blamed for it.
Raising a child to be gender non-specific, what might that mean? I'm not just going to buy you like a basketball if you're a boy, or G.I. Joes, and I'm not just going to buy you like My Little Pony and Barbie if you're a girl. I'm just going to buy whatever the fuck, and then you can play with whatever you want to play with, and then if there's certain toys that you prefer, that's fine. She even says they play baseball, like my kid plays baseball. Okay, what the hell is wrong with that? Why are you so judgmental of what kids decide to do? It's their goddamn life. If I have a kid and it's a boy and he's like, Dad, I want to wear a dress, I'll be like, alright, wear a fucking dress, I don't give a shit. Do whatever the fuck you want to do with your life. If I have a girl and she's like, I want to play basketball and play with G.I. Joes, be like, alright, great. Do what the fuck what you want to do. The only thing that the kid has to worry about is people like Steven Crowder, who are judgmental assholes, who can't get out of other people's lives. Why does your kid have to be exactly what you want the kid to be? It's their goddamn life. You should be accepting of your children, and I just hope Steven Crowder never has a kid who doesn't conform to exactly what he expects a human being to be, because that kid would be fucking miserable. And I would feel very sorry for them. Raising a kid in a non-gender specific way is absolutely nothing like forcing you have to be like males are, you have to be like how females are. It's actually more free. It's just saying like you can be whatever the hell you want. And if I have a kid, that's the way I'm gonna raise them. If my kid's like, I'm gay, I'll be like, cool, that's great. If my kid was transgender, I would probably preach like time, you know, getting to know who you are, just so you can be sure. That's about it. You see, I don't think I would instantly say, all right, let's start transitioning or whatever, and you're 7. No, I'd probably say I accept you as a girl, like I accept who you are, because I love you no matter who you are. That's the whole point of being a parent, you fucking idiot, Steven Crowder. And then it would play out over time and just see how to deal with that situation. But people who just want to force kids into these specific categories just because they don't know how to deal with anything that's different than themselves, fuck those people. They make people's lives miserable. That's why conservatism is so terrible for children.
That data shows us about 85 to 90% of children with gender dysphoria completely grow out of it. Yeah, maybe the fact that you threw out his toxically masculine G.I. Joes, gave him a feather bow, and told him to shake some fake tits around mommy's walk-in had something to do with it.
This part is interesting because Steven Crowder says 85 to 90% of children grow out of it, but the numbers he's showing on screen are completely different. Numbers he shows on screen says 6 to 23% of boys and 12 to 27% of girls showed persistence in their gender dysphoria. Just noting, there's completely different numbers than what he said.
85 to 90% of children with gender dysphoria.
Despite the numbers being different than what Steven Crowder said, they look significantly higher. I think this makes sense because children are trying to figure out who they are, and luckily, nobody he talked to talked about children transitioning. So I don't know why he's talking about it. Me, personally, I would actually fall in the direction of waiting until they can make that decision. When that is, I'm not sure. It's kind of above my pay grade, but at a certain point someone may be like, I need to transition because this is what I really want. And at that point, you have to be accepting. But nobody was talking about kids transitioning, Steven. So in final summary, this whole video is just Steven Crowder going to an event where they're talking about concerns for transgendered individuals looking for advice, and Steven treating them like a bunch of freaks. The very existence of transgender people is a joke, and he has a problem with that. Well, they do exist, Steven. Just because you've got a huge problem with this, like, small number of people who just want coverage, They just want help. They want to get through their lives and they want to deal with it, and they want tolerance. They want people to be understanding because their lives are difficult. Their lives are challenging. You find that so offensive. You have to go to a place where they are just to shit on them and lie to them. And I think for that, you're just a disgusting individual and you're just not worthy of any kind of respect at all. And it will definitely appeal to his audience. The comment section will just be like pure cancer. The rest of us don't have to think that this shit is any different from the conservatism of old. Not caring about people reminds me of Stuart Varney on Fox News.
Robert, I'm just going to give our viewers a quick run-through of what items poor families in America have. 99% of them have a refrigerator. 81% have a microwave. 78% have air conditioning. 63% have cable TV. 54% have cell phones. 48% have a coffee maker. I'm not surprised, they're only about $10. 38% have a computer. 32% have more than 2 TVs. 25% have a dishwasher. This, sir, Mr. Rector, is very different from what it was just a few years ago, isn't it?
Poor people having things, that's disgusting. They should suffer, they should die. And trans people having coverage that could actually help them, how dare they? It would really be nice if right-wingers stopped doing things where they ask people questions and then judge them for their answers.
Hey guys, so today we're here at the Slut Walk in downtown Los Angeles. We're interviewing feminists, we're taking a look around. It's kind of crazy here. There's some hostility, there's a lot of wacky looking people. And this is the wall of no shame. And everyone's just putting their Twitter ads. Like, no one's actually writing anything of substance. So in what ways do you think the U.S. supports rape or endorses rape or excuses it?
I mean, the fact that they have laws preventing, like, that get a lot of rapists off for free.
What laws?
Okay, I'm honestly not sure about that many laws. I was thinking about in other countries at first, but there are some laws about, like, oh, you know what I was saying is...
Are you thinking of, like, Saudi Arabia or something?
No.
All right, today has been incredibly eventful. We've talked to so many people. A lot of them believe some pretty wacky things.
The only reason they're giving you answers is because they think that you're not a piece of shit. And then you turn around and you make a video where you just be a piece of shit. Oh hey, I'm having fun, I'm expressing myself. Well, I'm gonna judge you. And then put you in front of my audience so they can all mock you and make fun of you. Yay! I just gotta say about conservatives in general for these kind of attitudes, fuck you. And I can't wait for you people to lose. Because you are terrible. Thank you.